everyone, welcome to this watercolor tutorial where we paint this cute little mitten. We go over the wet on wet technique, we do the wet on dry here for some of the wool texturing, and then we go over a little bit about the shadow with how we can create some nice white fluff for the mitten. Let's get started. So I'm going to come in with that wet on wet technique here. So I'm going to come in with some water, and I'm only going to do section by section here. I'm going to leave that bottom glove part nice and untouched. So my first layer here is going to be this water. And then the other part of the wet on wet technique for my first layer is going to be the color that I put on top. I already have red, so I'm going to come in. And do you see what's happening here? Do you see how it's expanding into my water? So this is how you can create some soft blends with your colors. You'll also find too that when you paint straight onto the page, it's a lot more vibrant versus when you put water down and do the wet on wet technique. It definitely helps just make your painting a little bit lighter. Okay, now I can come in with darker reds and I can come in and shadow. So I can put this down, and this is still part of the wet on wet technique. My mitten is still wet. It's very wet because you'll see that it's kind of expanding. So there's a lot of water down on my page. So you can just get a little bit of control over it by having a damp brush. And you can absorb some of that extra flare out. So to get a scoop for a highlight, I have a damp brush with just water. And I can literally come in and I can just lift the pigment so that I have a nice highlight in some areas. There we go. So I am going to dry this because, again, with the wet on wet technique, if I came in here with a different color, it would just expand and explode into each other. So you'll see here I've also gone really light, so I'll be able to layer on top of this pretty easily. So you can decide what you want to do. If you want to do decor on it or little rough mitten shapes, wool shapes. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do like little rough lines to make it look as though it's been pleated with some wool. But you can do little snowflakes on your picture. So as I'm getting closer to like my highlighted part, I am going to want to go a little lighter here with my color. So I just dipped my brush into some water. And then as I get to the highlighted part, we can switch. And have it be a little bit darker. And I'm lifting up at different points as well. I'm not necessarily just doing some straight lines. And then down here, I'm going to show you how to do white fluff. So with watercolor, we don't just paint with white, we paint the shadows. So I can come in with a nice gray blue. So I'm going to pick a blue and some black. And how to get gray, you just add some water to it. And then we're just going to focus on some shadows. It's too dark. So just lightly, just do some shadows with some blue-gray. And you want to make sure that you're leaving some white space. If you do not leave white space, it's just going to look like a gray blob. I want there to be a little bit more blue. And I'm just touching some blue in some spots. Okay, and there we have it. We go over the wet on dry technique. This is how you create depth and dimension within your piece. We did the wet on wet technique. Then we did a little bit of shadowing here to create some fluff for a mitten. I hope that you've enjoyed this painting. Check out my other videos, like and subscribe, and I'll paint with you soon. Happy painting!